Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and I continue with Arcanum of Steamworks and Magick Obscura, blind. Now, last time I met Nasruddin, of all people, who's apparently alive and has been living here in seclusion for the last 1,000 or whatever years, and he has sent me to recover something called the Vendigroth device, which is apparently a very old and powerful technological device used to kill mages, and I'm supposed to use it to kill Aronax. But first, let me level up. I think I'm going to put a point into dexterity, because it gives me a rather spectacular upgrade to speed, if I get it to 20. So it will definitely help me in combat. My persuasion should be... yeah, it's already maximum. Unfortunately, I can't get the master level because the quest seems to be bugged, although I will go and check it again once I return from the island of Thanatos to the main continent. But for now, let me put it here. Oh, why did my alignment drop so much? I don't remember doing anything particularly evil as of late. Oh well. You can have another point in dodge to have greater survivability in combat. You can have a point in willpower. You can have... what can you have? Point in lockpicking. You... I guess you can have more constitution for the fatigue. I don't have... like, he has a lot of spells already, and he's not even using half of them correctly, so I don't feel like giving him even more. Yeah, let's just give him constitution for the fatigue, which is basically like mana to him. And you can have a point of perception for better shooting. Okay, so let's go back. Okay. I will sail back to Tarant because I want to check if the quest to represent Tarant in negotiations with Caladon has maybe fixed itself. Oh, and actually, seeing how Arcanum is dead, and dead, missing. I just presume he's dead. I might actually give the skulls to the phrenologist, but to be honest, I will keep hold of them because they are evidence of a gnomish conspiracy of horrible proportions. So maybe some use will come out of them in the end. So, how do you do? Yeah, I have a few questions about Tarant. What does your job entail? Yeah, so he talks about the negotiations. I've read all of that already. And it says that we're having a trouble finding a man with the skills necessary to do so. Hit a barrier in negotiations, but I cannot offer my services any longer, so it's still the same bug as it was before. Well, at least I guess I can tell him of the plot to kill the king of Caladon, because I don't want him to get killed. He hasn't told me of any reasons, any moral reasons why he should die. It's not like he's a horrible person. It's straight up a political move, because this guy over here is pretty much a Tarantian nationalist, and he wants to weaken Caladon. So I do believe he's wrong in choosing that approach. So I will at the very least rat him out, and maybe this way they can stop it. If I cannot negotiate an alliance, then at least the king won't die. Mr. Willowsby, there's a conspiracy to kill King Farad. What? What are you talking about? I've been approached by a man called Jinx. Tell him. Bloody hell, you've done the right thing, my boy. Where is this Jinx? Just outside the corner. Loram, get out of there and take care of this traitor. We can't let this happen. Very good, sir. Tarant thanks you, friend. You've done us a great service. Loram will make sure that nothing will come of this. Now, was there anything else I could help you with? Well, you could help me if the quest was somehow unstuck, but it's pretty clear that it isn't, so oh well. And I guess that's the sound of the ogre killing the guy, right? Okay, I'm pretty much done, although I guess I could still use some of the traders to sell my junk. Before traveling to Vendigroth. Wait, I went past it. Screw it at this point. A noted swordsmith gives a lecture. I think I read that, but let's check. Let's check and wait and see. Noted swordsmith gives a lecture. Richard Leaks, attention to detail. Yeah, it's talking about the similarities between magic and technology. I read that already. But no, wait, I need to sell all those things, because after all, if I venture into Vendigroth with full inventory, then I'm not going to accomplish much. And I guess for now I will go straight to Vendigroth, because later on I need to meet with Nasrud. After I require the Vendigroth device, I need to meet with Nasrudin at the Ring of Brodgar, so that's when I might visit the Panari Temple to tell them about what I've discovered. At least I presume it's going to be an option. Oh, it's actually from this side, which is even better. Gateway to the Wastes, a bridge leading into the Vendigroth Wastes. Okay. If you want to live, give us 200 coin. What if I won't? What if I won't? What if I won't? There's someone here. Halfling villager. Get on with it, dwarf. I must have not heard you. No, I do not believe there is any call to speak to me so rudely, sir. Okay, I apologize. No need to get all huffy with me. What is it you want? Pray tell, who are you? I am Veldor Rubin, the renowned halfling adventurer. At your service. What are you doing out here? Why, adventuring, of course. What better place to explore than the dreaded wastes of Vendigroth? Have you seen any cities out in the wastes, perhaps? Well, it's pretty empty out there, and I haven't been exploring all that long, but I found this one city, way out in the wastes, surrounded by shifting sands. No road leads into or out of that place. Continue. There was no obvious entrance, so I climbed the surrounding wall. From that vantage, I could see the whole place. Anyone lives there? Yes, there were a lot of people inside, lots of different races. Everyone was wearing robes and acting very polite and all. Did you go inside? No, I climbed back down and left. Bigger folk have their own ways, and I won't be disturbing them. Would you please show me where it is on my map? I don't know. Perhaps if you did something for me first. I'm beginning to wonder if you actually know where the city is. Of course I know where it is. Then show me. There's no harm in that. Okay, I've marked the location of the city on your map. Perhaps you can answer a few more questions? Tell me about your adventures. I always love to speak of my adventures. What can I share with you? Have you found anything interesting in your travels? Well, actually, I found a very interesting device on a foray near here. He holds up a small, peculiar item. I found this in some old ruins in the wastes. Really? Yes, the ruins were made of metal of sorts I have never encountered before. There was all manner of junk around there, and inside them I found this device while rummaging through it. I see. So some nasty lizards must live underneath it, because they swarmed out at the noise, and I had to retreat. It sounds bad. Well, you have to expect danger in my line of work. More questions? And tell me about your adventures. What kind of monsters have you seen in the desert? I have seen all kinds of strange critters. I have seen giant spiders with the upper body of a woman. That wasn't the strangest thing, though. What could be stranger than that? Once I saw the darndest thing. Deep in the desert, I saw a rock stand up and move around. I swear it looked at me too. Did you speak to it? Don't be absurd. I took off my hat, bowed graciously, and left it to its own devices. Okay. More questions? Adventures? What kind of monsters? Okay, he repeats himself. Did you attack it? Such a typical question. No, I did not. I left. Okay, so I guess that's it. Theoretically, there was an option to ask him to join me, but my follower count is full currently, and he doesn't seem to be that important of a character because obviously he has no voice acting. So let's go into the wastes then. Okay, so wait, Tulla, a mysterious city of mages, deep in the Vendigroth Wastes. I don't know why, but I always thought that Tulla was an island. To be honest, I don't know why I thought that. I just kind of assumed that. But to be honest, before I go there, I want to once again sort of zigzag all over the place. Presumably I'm going to find a lot of monsters, but I just want to be sure I don't overlook anything. Tulla is already marked on my map, so I will obviously go there eventually. I just want to make sure I found everything else. Okay, I guess that's too many waypoints, so let's keep with that for now. Well, and those were those half women, half spiders that he mentioned. It seems to be maybe native to this part of the world, because there's a lot of this type of monster. This one was called a plaguish maiden. So I guess it's a whole species of those half spiders, half women. And there are different castes or something.
Again, eh?
How can I help you?
What is it that you want of me? Yes, of course. What is it that you want of me?
Okay, to be honest, it's both kind of ridiculous and kind of disappointing that there was literally nothing in the entirety of this huge swath of land. I have to reload because my game is doing strange things and it's kind of laggy. But oh well, I guess let's get to Tulla then. There is a mage at the gates. Greetings, traveler. What is this place? He looks you over for a moment before responding. Ah, it is you. Jorian told us to be expecting you. You might enter. Thank you, but who is Jorian? And what is this place? Jorian is the diviner. He's inside, waiting for you. And this place? Well, this place is Tulla, the city of mages. To enter, just walk to somewhere. To the walls, I believe. May the gods guide your way. Okay. So it just teleported me inside. It's full of guardian beasts. Oops, it seems I activated something. So perhaps let me reload, because I did it without even knowing what it's going to do, and perhaps it's going to be important later. Tulla, student of magic. Welcome. We are honored to have the pure of heart visit us here in Tulla. Okay. I do not associate with dwarves. Sir, why are you insulting me? I may only be a student in Tulla, but even I can see the obvious flaws in your character. Leave me to your studies. Hold on, sir. Are you quite sure you are correct about me? The young man looks you over, nodding. Yes, I see that you are correct. Please forgive my short-sightedness and quick tongue. How may I help you today? Thank you. Who are you, sir? Wait. I'm pretty sure I asked who are you. And he didn't answer. Surely, what do you need to know? What can you tell me of Tulla, Herzog? Tulla? Oh, it's a wonderful place. full of such strange things and interesting people. If only I didn't have to do all of this bloody schoolwork. How's a fellow supposed to enjoy himself if his nose is always in the books? Do we have much schooling left? Not really. A few bothersome papers, some illusionary presentations, nothing all that difficult. Of course, there is the final examination. What does that entail? There's a maze underneath Tulla. It was built by an illusionist centuries ago, an old elf by the name of Arcane. In order to pass the final exam, I need to retrieve a platinum chalice from the middle of Arcane's maze and bring it to the master illusionist. It's not that I don't think I can do it, it's just there's so much else I'd rather be doing. Perhaps I might be able to assist you? Gives you a sly look. Now, there's a possibility. Yes, that just may work out nicely. This way, I could run out later with the boys. There's a fireball tourney later this afternoon, and I'd love to play in. Fine. I've got an old scroll of phantasmal fiend around here somewhere. Shall we call that your payment? Well, actually, I haven't realized that at first, but what I'm basically doing is I'm proposing that I will help him cheat on his final exam, which obviously is seriously wrong, so actually I'm not going to do that. Perhaps. Good day to you. I'm actually not going to do that. Like, I thought I'd be able to help him in some other way, you know. Okay, so it's going to be one of those episodes then, in which I spent the entirety of the remnants of it reading books. So be it. Let's start with this. Treatise on the nature of reality. What with this reality then? By Gesserit Pelkanepol, a half-elven wanderer and scribe. Can reality be said to be more than than which is perceived? This comes down to the ancient question: if a tree falls in the forest, but there is no one around to hear it fall, will it make a sound? The question, of course, is nonsense, for if we believe it will, the question, of course, is nonsense, for if we believe it will not make a sound because there is no one to perceive the sound, then the tree does not exist because itself it is not perceived, and then it cannot fall in the forest because it doesn't exist either because it is not perceived. Nonsense too, we say. Of course the forest is there. If we have been in the forest many times, we expect it to be there if we should return, so of course the forest exists. If the forest exists, then the tree exists too, and since the tree exists, they can fall, and experience shows us that falling trees make sound. We expect that which we have seen before. So sentient beings expect that which our senses tell us is happening to happen again, given the same circumstances. We have seen the sun rise in the east and set in the west each day of our lives, so naturally we expect the sun to rise in the east and set in the west again tomorrow. But can we actually say that is so? No, we cannot predict with 100% certainty that the sun will indeed rise in the east and set in the west each day. We can only predict that it is extremely likely that it will do so. Thus, reality around us is only the reality we perceive. We mages are able to alter our world around us because we alter our perception of it. If we need a spoon to exist, so that we may take in our dinner, we will perceive a spoon, and it will be a reality for us. Of course, this is not an easy task, because we have seen that there is no spoon. That's a Matrix reference, right? And experience shows us that spoons simply do not materialize out of thin air, but should we forget this fact for now and expect a spoon is to materialize, should we forget this fact for now and expect a spoon to materialize, there should be something else, right? At the end of the sentence? Should we expect this with sufficient force, then it will materialize, because reality is only that which we perceive. Was there a universe before sentient life? Did it really exist if there was no one to perceive it? According to my arguments here, no. This universe came into existence as soon as sentients perceived it. The gods looked upon the universe, and it existed. Now we exist too, and we perceive the universe. I cannot believe in the death of magic. I cannot perceive a future without magic, and so I will never experience a future without magic. But the reality you perceive might be different from mine, and it is here that the conflict lies. There are troubles in the world today because of many sentients inhabiting it, and because of all of the differing beliefs. Therefore, take comfort if you feel reality itself is against you. Reality is never at odds with what anyone does. Another person's reality might be at odds with it, but your own reality will never be at odds with what you do, as it changes to fit your own perceptions. Okay, so basically this talks about the power magic has to reshape reality, but it also brings up some actual philosophical beliefs, because I don't remember it off the top of my head, but there was actually a rather prominent Christian philosopher who posited the argument that basically the world exists because, which is brought up here, the world exists because God is looking at it, as it were, because it went along the lines of what is basically discussed here, that things only exist if they are perceived. So, like, the things that we do not currently perceive would stop to exist if it was not for the existence of God, who basically perceived everything at once, right? So he sort of always kept an eye on reality so that it never stopped existing. Obviously, I'm simplifying it now, and it was probably much more elaborate in its argumentation, but that was the gist of it. I'm going to try and find it, who that was and whatever, and put the link, the relevant links in the description in case you were interested. Okay. Okay, she has quite space left, so let's continue. Actually, wait. This is a book from Thanatos. She might have that as well, actually. Just to free my own inventory. Okay, let's continue. Mastery of the magical arts. True Mysticism and the Mastery of the Magical Arts by Archmage Naomir Palnar. Before traveling onwards through the divergent dimensions, it is my wish to leave behind a reference guide for those whose journey may one day parallel my own. This work is intended for all young beings who seek to live an impassioned interest in the wonder and beauty of the arcane through a devoted and disciplined pursuit of their dreams. Reality as it exists, from the truly unbounded perspective, is infinitely more than the variously limited dreamscape of any particular living mind. Belief is the most powerful and influential factor in shaping what an individual experiences of reality, and is therefore both the source and the ultimate focus of our responsibility and personal power. Ability in shaping magic must not be merely seen as a way of accessing more exotic and powerful versions of physical tools and implements with which to achieve certain objectives. True understanding does not flow from such a separation of oneself and the focus on manipulation. Learning to shape the runes of magic must be completely interwoven with the broader journey of personal development and transformation if one is to know true mastery. Black necromancy, mental, and summoning are colleges of magic composed of spells of which no rational mage would cast upon themselves, and therefore entirely without another limited being apart from oneself as a participant in the casting process. To accept such a constraint upon spellcraft is to place the focus of potential magic outside of oneself in the large reality which encompasses all being. Artistry requires true control, which flows only from the independent extension of consciousness will. The colleges of Morphing, Nature and Phantasm do have some aspects of manipulating oneself or reality directly, yet rely too often for their efficiency upon a limited entity apart from oneself. These are the paths the adept must reject when beginning a journey of subsuming magic into transcendent being. Exploration of personal identity is bound inevitably to an exploration of reality in its entirety. In seeking out the wisdom and knowledge of others, achieving insights through personal reflection and meditation, and the imaginative utilization of divinatory arts, there is much that can be discerned of what and where we are. The physical universe is composed of an incomprehensible myriad of patterns, woven with unfathomable subtlety and diversity from a single energy, which we perceive in its most basic form as light. Every individual entity comprises an interwoven segment with some of these patterns, which form a cohesive set ranging from an infinitesimal point of infinite energy to an infinite expanse of infinitesimal heat. The energy from which every pattern is shaped does not exist only as an innumerable actualizations, but also as potential, parallel to the physical reality composed of a single energy in various patterns and relations to the universe of ideas composed of thought, which can be referred to as energy of mental illumination. Just as every individual body is tiny patterns which within a much larger physical pattern that is itself a tiny fraction of all possible patterns, so does an individual mind is a unique set of specific ideas within a set of particular cultural ideas within the realm of all possible ideas. Both mind and body are ever changing as they travel through the intestination in one possible physical pattern to another and one potential set of ideas to another. Spirit describes the energy which forms, and it is formed by convergence of a specific meta-pattern of ideas and the specific meta-pattern of physical matter. Discovery and consideration of personal insights such as these provides a path clear for an adept in reaching towards magical development. Divination is the magical extension of the unique pattern of the mind and consciousness within the realm of the abstract. Conveyance is the magical control of a unique pattern of physical energy in relation to the larger pattern of reality in a single moment. Temporal is the magical control of a unique pattern of physical energy in relation to other patterns of reality than that of the moment. White necromancy is the positive shaping of the energy which flows both from and into the convergence of unique body and mind. Force is the direct shaping of the potential energy which flows through all of the patterns of reality. Meta is the magical reshaping of any reality patterns which have been altered via conscious will and allows for a complete mastery of the magical arts. The path through these colleges requires much perseverance and devoted development of skill, yet a mage who has mastered these has come a long way and is capable of holding her own against any other. There is even further transformation of power and style within reach of those with the fortitude and desire to travel on. The elemental grouping of air, earth, fire and water is very basic and useful to the perspective of reality in its broader physical qualities. Balance and complement between elemental compositions form a dynamic that can be grasped very personally and intuitively among conscious beings. An accomplished mage should choose one element from each axis of opposition based upon their own sense of empathy and aesthetic taste in relation to each pair. My own affinities reside in the elements of air and fire and form a connection that weaves itself into the very name I have chosen to take. The path set forth in this tome reaches its zenith completely, mastering half of all known magic. More important is the transformation into magical being, which takes place as an adept reaches finally to the level of an archmage. It is here very important not to let oneself be consumed by the drive to acquire more magic. As an archmage who has reached true mastery can enjoy the freedom of opportunity that a self-transformed through a magical ability allows. Personal development can now be focused along new channels, such as the ability of unarmed combat and the refinement of physical and psychic characteristics. It is the true archmage who can focus on such wonders of artistic creation, exploration, and teaching others. Okay, this was a whole lot of bullshit. Like, I wonder if it was specifically meant to satirize some of the philosophical treatises, like because it was very wordy and yet it said almost nothing. It was a lot of, you know, patterns within patterns, and the patterns of reality that, and the patterns of the mind that. Like, it was very flowery, but it was kind of pointless. Most of it did not seem to even mean anything, which certainly reminds me of some of the philosophical texts I've read, where you had a whole paragraph and you read it, and theoretically you understood every word, and yet the complete meaning of the paragraph sort of, you know, eluded you completely. It was my experience with Hegel. I haven't read any of his works in its entirety, but I've read fragments, and often I found myself wondering what is even his deal, because even though I understood, as I said, all of the individual words, I still couldn't figure out what did he actually mean. Okay, so The Great Work. The Great Work by Alexis Cowdery. Forward. The truth of magic is the truth of life. If we are to do anything at all beyond automatic vegetative living, we must consciously apply ourselves to magic, the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. For our will is that which exists to shape reality of the world. No known force upon this world has been uncovered to compete with the truths of magic. They are those who say that magic works by subverting the natural order, but I vigorously disagree. Magic is a true extension of nature, for how could it be otherwise? If it is not, then we must conjecture that there is the possibility of a force which could disrupt the magical flows. And since we all know that no such mechanism exists, it is an obvious conclusion that magic is completely harmonious with the natural order. Okay, so this must predate the current rise of technology, because obviously such a force does exist. It has been proven experimentally, you know, via empiricism pretty much, that technology disrupts magic. Chapter 1. The Proper Spirit. To undertake the practice of the great work, one must first commit himself to the work of the proper spirit, or all will be for naught. Therefore, dedication of all that one is, and of all that one has to the great work, without reservation of any sort, is of the ultimate necessity. The truth must be constantly kept in mind. It is altogether wrong to allow yourself to be worried by spiritual, moral, and artistic problems. All is worth nothing unless you can see clearly into the simplicity of truth. All humming and hawing about things is a moral poison. The great mage is put into this life to do what he will, and this shall be the whole of the new law. The laws of men are for men, and the laws of fate and spirit are the only things binding the great mage, for they cannot be broken, they are the way. Okay, this seems pretty insane. Like, this seems to be laying grounds for some kind of a mage superiority movement, because it basically says here that a mage, by virtue of being a mage, can do whatever he wants, that the laws of regular people are not intended to apply to him, which is a recipe for disaster, if you ask me. Chapter 2. The Practice of the Great Work. The first requisite for causing any change is a thorough quantitative and qualitative understanding of the conditions. The most common cause of failure in magic is ignorance of one's true will, or of the means to fulfill that will. A man may fancy himself a necromancer and waste his life trying to become one, while his will is aligned towards summoning. One can only attract and employ forces for which he is really fitted. To know one's true will, he must answer the question, how did I come to be in this place, at this time, engaged in this particular work? If undertaken in the proper spirit, this will start him on the path of discovery of who he really is, and eventually lead him into recovering the memory of previous incarnations, for all our incarnations are focused in one direction, as an arrow pointing towards our destiny. To deny the spirit is to deny the gods themselves, and one will never reach the apex of the great work if one spends his life struggling against the gods. Real power is not stagnant. All life is conflict. Every breath that one draws represents a victory in the struggle of the whole universe. One can't wield power without perfect mastery of the circumstance. One must have the great will to achieve this mastery of all of one's life must be concentrated towards the great work. One will be immensely stimulated by having all useless trimmings stripped from his thinking apparatus, and only then will the great work come into focus. One might learn the use of this power so as to serve any purpose by taking advantage of the above theorems. He may attract himself any appropriate force of the world by making himself a fit receptacle for it, establishing a connection with it, and arranging conditions so that his nature compels him to flow towards him. If his spirit is aligned with the direction of these forces, we must remember one cannot go against their own destiny and achieve the power that is due to him. One's sense of self is separate from and opposed to the world is a bar to his conducting its currents. It insulates him. There is no limit to the extent of the relations of any man with the world, in essence, for as soon as the man makes himself one with any idea he has gained, he has gained the power of that idea. But his power to utilize the force is limited by his willpower and constitution, by the circumstances of his environment. Magic is the science of understanding oneself and of one's conditions. It is the art of applying this understanding in all action. Every great mage must make magic his keynote of life. He must learn its laws and live by them. Okay, this at the very least, it was still kind of pointless, but this at least I understood. It was talking about how mages, how there is no force that can disrupt magic, that magic is entirely natural, which has since been proven to be wrong. It was talking about how the laws of regular people don't apply to mages, and also about how you might dedicate yourself to the power of will or something. Overall, it wasn't too thrilling, but oh well, we can't all be winners. Now, I feel like this episode has been long enough, so I am going to save here and end it here for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!